Closing off 2023, there have been so many games coming to Quest, more than usual. Some good, some bad. Arashi, Castle of Sin, Final Cut looked to be a hidden gem, as I saw almost no promos for the game and it had a Japanese aesthetic similar to Ghost of Sushi had. Arashi Castle of Sin Final Cut is published by Skydance Interactive, the same people who published The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners and The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution. The Walking Dead VR, games like them or not, push the needle forward for what VR game mechanics and movement should be. Being published by Skydance Interactive with Arashi, it is developed by a different studio, Endeavor One. They've managed to really drop the ball on the Quest version of the game. First of all, the game loads into a Japanese setting, and immediately the first thing that throws you off at the starting screen is performance. With or without recording, it's stutter galore, coupled by the fact that the game I played entirely on Quest 3. This game was delayed from November 16 to December 5, so the game was not in the best state. It probably needed a longer delay at that. The game is visually better on PC, but I didn't check that out. I only do so if it's cross-buy, and this game isn't. On Steam, the game has a mostly negative rating, with the only good ratings being under 1 hour of playtime. I've been playing the game for around 5 hours or so. Absolutely do not buy the game, as it has issues on PSVR, PCVR, and on Quest. And as of right now, they have not said anything publicly, and I'm pretty sure this game is probably dead on arrival. Before I criticize the game, there are qualities of the game that don't make it the worst game of 2023, but a massive disappointment as I was looking forward to the game. With the title set in Japan, you are a shinobi taking out a rival clan with a katana and a pet companion. With melee, shurikens, and bow and arrow gameplay, sounds like a good game in premise, but it fails to translate well into Quest. However, after beating the first boss, the game picks up pace and stealth and actually works better. However, after beating the first boss, the game picks up pace and stealth actually works better than in games like Sniper Elite VR. But they've managed to drop the ball really hard on this game. The voice acting accompanied by the soundtrack is really good.
6人の鬼は再び村を襲い、死に勝る恐怖をもたらした。村は全滅し、浪人どもは今、軍兵衛に与えられた土地で領主として振る舞っている。生き延びた長老の息子は血にまみれた体で最後まで正義を誓っていた。
The cutscenes in the game, although they look 360p, are engaging. The bosses are really cool and each of them have their own backstories, and the cutscenes are dope. The design and art of the animations, as well as the girl in the game that acts as your messenger, are really well done. Boss battles are really fun, but laborsome to get to when the game has you doing the same thing over and over again. But apart from those qualities, it suffers from everything else that make it a good VR game. And now with the long list of bad. Maybe in 2016, when people are drip-fed content for VR, this game might have been passable. First of all, performance. When you boot up the game, you're met with a menu screen that stutters really bad on Quest 3. And trying to click anything on the screen, your controllers don't show, so you don't know what you're aiming at. You just have to go along with it. And with performance, I think a large part of why it suffers so much is particle effects. Apart from the starting screen, it doesn't stutter, but it hitches from time to time. The game runs at 72 Hz, no application space warp, and it runs fine. And that's in major part due to how horrendously down, bad, ugly the game looks on Quest. Textures. By far, its worst quality is that the game was extremely bogged down from what we were shown in the trailers and the PC counterpart to bring it onto Quest. On the Quest storefront, it uses a PC captured game footage trailer, and immediately that's a big red flag. The game looks nothing like the PC build. Textures are on par when Onward first came to Quest. The game concept is good, but it translates really poorly on Quest. On the beginning levels, before you get to the first boss, everything is extremely dark for no reason. On Quest 3, the dark levels are super washed out, more than usual, even though it uses a LCD panel. On meta side, it's embarrassing to allow something of this low quality to release on the storefront. With Skydance, why attach your name to something with minimal to no effort at all? And like a big reason of why Quest games look like Quest games and don't come nowhere near the PC version is shadows and good lighting create a better sense of space to the environment, and it makes makes it come to life, and this game is missing every aspect of good lighting. And now with gameplay, the combat in the game is mediocre when you have games like Boner Lab, Blade and Sorcery, Swordsman. With combat, it does have a mechanic where you can parry, but a lot of the time, parries don't register. A large part of what makes a great combat VR game is being able to do an attack freely however you want. Physics are non-existent in the game, and combat feels flat. You can't push your enemies, they don't bump into one another. The game in general just feels very dated. The best part about the combat is being able to stealth, hide in the grass, and just hit them from behind, and it's an instant kill. And the hardest part when I first started the game was getting into it, as it explains the controls in the beginning, but it doesn't show you how. Calling your dog is with the left controller's top button, and if you engage in combat, it's impossible to do both of those things without running off and designating what your dog should do. Even if you do it, the dog might be glitched in an object. The combat never really flows. I'm always left finicking around with the controls, and the combat with the controls isn't super responsive. It's more of a poke, like you just wiggle your sword like a wand, you'll defeat your enemies. And for this game, it's kind of a disappointment, as I was anticipating this game to be a hidden gem of the year, but it can stay hidden for the time being. A lot of the reviews on Questor like mine say great premise, poor execution. The game has potential to be good. Now it's up for the developers to not make it look like a Quest 1 version, but even then, Quest 1 games didn't look that bad. And fleshing out the combat so it doesn't feel lifeless, and making enemies more reactionary to what the player does rather than the enemies entering unblockable animations with melee combat. The game has potential. As I've played a little bit more, gone to the third boss, the stealth is fun, but charging $30 isn't. And if they fix the issues, I feel like this game would be a different game entirely. As far as VR has come in 2023, basics to what makes a VR game good, it's missing a lot of those. And having a gameplay trailer of PC footage on the Quest store is misleading. It's sad to see a great idea be tainted by lazy work importing the game over to Quest. Maybe it'll get continued patches and updates, but no follow-ups by the devs or the publisher have been made at all. Without further monetary incentive, I doubt the devs put in the work and move on to the next project. But yeah, another disappointment in the book. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and until the next video, bye.